Well, it's great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today.
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure.
So let's get into your life as an author and an artist. And before we get to that point, I want to know 4 years ago, this pandemic was happening. We didn't know when we were going to get out. There was so much that was uncertain. But now that we're kind of quote unquote out of it, how did you survive through that time period? And how did it change the way that you live your life now?
Gosh, that's a great question. You know, um, s- there were a lot of silver linings to the COVID cloud.
Yeah.
Um, it was, fortunately, in Texas, we weren't locked up very long,
Yeah.
uh, maybe 6 weeks. And so life was not too terribly disturbed after a while, except for the kids, in school. And even then, my grandkids only missed, the last few weeks of that year,
Yeah.
school year. Um, but we, I guess I'm an optimist. And I'm a very social person. So this staying at home with just me and my husband wasn't, was great in a way, but I was like, I need some more interaction. So we live in a gated neighborhood and I'm in charge of the neighborhood directory. And so I sent an email out and said, we're going to have drinks in the driveway. Going to mark off X's, about 8 feet apart, bring your own chairs, bring your own beverages. And we ended up with a core group of about 6 families that that got to know each other in ways that we would have not gotten to know each other were it not for COVID. And I also started a little art in the driveway thing where I just invited anybody in our neighborhood. We have 50 homes in a gated community. And I said, bring your art by if you do anything artistic and I'll display it on the driveway. And it kind of gave people who did a lot of walking, during that time, a destination.
Yeah.
And I ended up with a bulletin board for kids art. So I kind of have some fond memories of that really lockdown time. Um, my first book was also uh, in the works, and the timing worked out that the whole editing and all of that process happened during COVID. And I had the time, it gave me something to do.
Yeah.
So it was great
Yeah.
in some ways. In other ways, it was awful.
Yeah. No, I get it. And I hear a lot about the silver linings because I think it's all about the way that you live your life anyways. If you tend to see the glass half full, you're going to go for it. You're going to get out there and do it. But I remember for a long time when I became a family guy, I there used to be a little community up here called Belton, and there was a citywide garage sale. And I'm a visual artist. That's one of my pieces. So I would take all of my
Oh,
artwork and I would put it in the driveway for the garage sale, and I would just put a tip jar out. And people, as the years went by, loved it. They would come up and, just get artwork. And it was like I'm competing against manufactured artwork and Target. So you might as well have original. And it
yeah,
doesn't have to break the bank. So it was fun. Yeah. So I love that idea
that's
that you,
wonderful.
yeah. So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do right now in 2024. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of grade school kids on career day. You're in a classroom and a third grader looks up and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I would say that I'm a Christian author and artist. And, I mean, that's the job that God has given me for this season of my life. I've done other things, but God has different things for us to do in different parts of our life. And that's what He's called me to do right now. And so I write devotionals and, um, and do paintings that to accompany each devotional.
So talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised and how you got to this point. How did you find this spirituality, this creativity, this zeal that you have? How did all these seeds get planted to grow into who you are today?
Gosh, well, I was raised in a Christian family. My dad was a Baptist minister. So, I don't ever remember not being in church. Um, but it was, you know, I guess it was, I was sort of devoted to it, I guess, when I was growing up. Well, it's just what you did. I didn't have a lot of choice. I went to church a lot. Um, but I would say during my 20s and 30s, it was sort of one foot in and one foot out. Not it was occupied a part of my life, but it was not my primary, focus. And that just changed over time, slowly, I guess. And you know, I never the whole artistic thing is I never had any desire to be an author or an artist. That was not on my radar, no, not anywhere. And I had a twin sister, and she was the one who had these really great gifts in art. And she would get notes from school, this kid has this great gift. And the notes my parents got about me were, she talks too much in class. And so it wasn't until I was retired and a grandmother that this whole art and devotionals thing came up, and it was totally God's idea, not mine. I had started taking late 2017, I'd started taking art lessons, and because a friend had watched me doodle and said, you should take art lessons. And I'm like, oh, usually I don't respond that well to shoulds, but and about the same time, another gal said, because I was in a Bible study and would write a little paragraph every week about what we were studying. And it was like, you should write devotionals. I was like, no, no way. And anyway, in early 2015, like in March, not 15, 2018, I was on a walk, and these two things were just rolling around in my head. And I just sensed that God was calling me to write devotionals to go along with my paintings and to start a website, and which was just a ridiculous idea. I'd never written a devotional. I had 5 months of painting experience, and I had no clue as to how to do a website. But it was so strong and so clear. I said yes. And 6 weeks later, I had a website up and running. And so I just, one of the things that I've learned, when God calls you, just be obedient, say yes, and he'll take care of it. And after a while, my husband started saying, you should do a book. And I'm like, no, no way. And he was not nagging, but he was persistent. And eventually I told him when I had 52 devotionals done, then I would look into getting a publisher. And, God's still in the miracle business, because I was nobody with any kind of, social media following or anything like that. And God provided a publisher. And so I the truth is that he's the author and the artist. He's just using my hands, because I don't think I have any innate skills in that area. But and now I'm getting ready for my third book to come out.
So, who's been kind of a hero for you in your life?
Oh gosh, a hero. That's a really hard one. Um, a hero. I don't know. I don't think I have heroes.
So, how
That's
about
that's
this?
kind of weird, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's an answer in itself. How about this? If you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that you admire or find fascinating, who would that be?
Hmm, that's another hard one. Um, my husband was just gesturing to me that I should tell that he's my hero.
There you go. That's a good answer. I like it.
um, who would I want to meet? Oh, if Billy Graham were still alive, I would want to meet him.
That's fine. We can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So what is the motivation for you to do this work? You've obviously it's been kind of late in life that you've acquired these skills and you're doing it, but what ultimately is the thing that gets you up every day that allows you to do this work and to also evolve as a human yourself?
Um, I guess to me, it's just a feeling that number one, God's called me to do this. And so my job is to be faithful. Um, and frankly, I think he's doing it more for my benefit than anything else in terms of me just growing spiritually. Because usually if I'm writing a devotional, it's because it's a lesson I need to learn. And then I feel like he's called me to just encourage others on their Christian walk and to be an encouraging voice. Um, that it's not easy following Christ, and we all have our struggles in doing that well. And so I just hope that that's what gets me up, is that maybe in some way, and I 99.9% of the time I will never know how anything I've done has impacted others. But that's what keeps me going.
What's been one of your favorite letters or responses you've gotten from somebody from either your writing or your art?
Um, well, this is an interesting story. A very dear friend of mine bought several books of my first book and to give to friends. And one of her friends is an atheist, but she was like, I don't care. I'm going to give her this book anyway. And so this friend, this atheist friend, had a friend who was getting ready to have brain surgery. And it was a benign situation, but still, brain surgery is a big deal. And she was going to stay with her the first week after she got home from the hospital. Well, this atheist decides that she's going to read my book to this gal, who I did not know. And then eventually, um, this gal found me. I'm not even sure how. And, she told me, that the book had changed her life. And I'm like, well, not the book, God changed your life through that book. But um, she, and then she told me I went on Amazon and I bought 45 copies of your book so I could send one to each of my friends. And I was like, oh gosh, not sure I have 45 friends, but anyway, that is, one of those things that, I sort of cling to if I ever get discouraged. Just like, you know, God may be using it in that way and you'll never know. And that's okay. He's in charge of the results. I'm not.
For sure. What a great story. So, of everything that you've done up to this point in your life, what are you the proudest of?
Hmm. Wow. I'm proud of my marriage with my husband. We've been married a little over, well, almost 26 years. Not a first go around for either of us, but um, we met on a mission trip to Kenya, and we've been together ever since. And that was back in 1997. And so I'm proud of the marriage that we've built. And I'm proud that I've been able to be a part of, I never had any children, but I have 3 stepchildren now and 4 grandchildren. So I'm proud of uh, the opportunities that God has given me to be a part of their lives.
So, at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, everyone that gets your work that you make, but ultimately you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Um, hmm, that's wow. I would say a deeply flawed person who's been saved by grace and genuinely tries to follow Jesus, even though I mess it up every day. That would be it.
So, what's the best thing about living in Houston?
Well, it's not the weather.
I I remember one time I haven't spent a long time there, but I remember getting off a flight there, a connecting flight, and it was like I'm used to humidity in Kansas City, but it was like I got sucker punched with breath. It was crazy.
Yeah. So, well, I think it's a it's a it's a city with a lot of hustle and bustle. I mean, there's a lot of energy, if you will. Um, we live in what's called the energy corridor because of, oil and gas is huge here in Houston. Um, but it's a city of opportunities. Um, even during rough times economically, I was always able to have a job here. Um, we there's everything you need in the city. We've got opera, symphony, great theater, um, all the sports teams except for, yeah, we have well, we don't have hockey.
Hockey, right?
Yeah. But so, there's always something. Um, but you find you live your life in an area because it is so big. We get a little tired of the traffic.
Sure.
But we have such deep roots here. I mean, to me, we're deeply rooted here. We're not going to go anywhere, despite this awful summers.
Right, right, for sure. I get it. So, Sharon, if anyone wants to pick up your work, your art, any of the good stuff, reach out. How do they do it? The good business.
Well, I have a website, becominghismasterpiece.com. My books are available, you know, where books are where you find books generally, but of course Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Christian Book, they can find them there. And the new one comes out November 26th. So it's called Becoming His Masterpiece, The Journey Continues.
Wonderful. Sharon, thank you so much for your story. Thank you for your time. Keep doing the wonderful work.
Thank you so much.
You
I
bet.
appreciate it.
Absolutely. Great to meet you. Take care.